Hey guys, day 9 on our tour, and we are still in the beautiful Orlando area in Florida, and we're visiting the Escape Ventures today. And there's plenty of parking outside this shopping complex. My gosh, I'm so excited because we're playing all 3 of their games at this location. Let's go.
What's poppin' and unlocking, everybody? It is Brandon from ESCAPETHEROOMers. We are at the Escape Ventures, finally, in Orlando, Florida, and I am with Curtis and Derek. How you guys doing?
We're doing great, actually.
Staying busy.
Yeah. So excited to be here. They are the owners. We're gonna get to know them a little bit better, and also the Escape Ventures. All right, first question we have to ask you is how many games do you have available to the public right now?
Well, as of right now, we only have the 3 games. Outage, No Vacancy, Bros for Life, and Satirical Miracle. With that being said, we do have space for 5. However, for right now, we're keeping it at 3.
But you might have one on the way soon, right?
Yeah.
Yes, we do. That's our Operation Arctic Storm coming 2022 at some point.
All right, I'm gonna try to see what I get out of them about that game. But before we do so, which is your most popular game? Which is the one that gets booked the most by the players?
For sure, Bros for Life. Only because, 1, it does hold a lot more people up to 8, but it's just a lot of fun. Very comical, very high energy, you know, parts of crawling and climbing and just upbeat, and it's just a lot of fun.
Very interactive.
Yeah.
Very interactive. You'll find in that game that there's a lot of extra elements that we really push the barrier on a traditional escape room. So if you come down, you check us out, you'll hopefully find out what that means.
Yeah, and they have an awesome soundtrack while you're in there too, so it definitely keeps the motivation going.
Absolutely.
All right, so the next thing we want to know is you guys build everything? Like everything is in-house?
Yeah. Everything is our team.
I feel like you probably have tons of stories. We're just going to ask you to share one. What is something that happened or a challenge or an obstacle that you faced that you needed to overcome?
COVID. We're a COVID baby.
That's a big one.
Like, that's a pretty big one. We actually were about to open our doors beginning of February. We opened with our original Granny Fannies game that's no longer with us. The Satirical is a part 2 to that experience. We opened, we were about 3 weeks open prior to getting shut down. And that was a big hurdle, to say the least. A lot of unexpected barriers that we just had to kind of roll with.
Yeah.
Before the pandemic, we were private experiences. We'll continue to be private experiences. But with that, we kind of took advantage of that opportunity being shut down. What we originally had in place for Bros, which was our second experience to open, our first of the 3 that we currently have available. That one was about like 80% of what we wanted it to be. What the dream was for Bros for our first 60-minute experience, our breakout experience into the Orlando market. But using that time, that dead space to just really hit it, every last detail that we wanted, that was a blessing in disguise for us.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know if you have anything else that you want to say, but we were able to make it the dream that we wanted it to be. Constantly, every time we get feedback, we're always putting it in the notes so we can always continue to grow the existing experiences.
Yeah.
But we got the opportunity, I will say, with COVID to really push what we wanted to do and make it a full 100% the game that we showcased today.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those who don't know, Bros was actually nominated and they won for Player's Choice Award. So we had to see what all the fuss is about. That's why we drove all the way down here.
All that overhype.
And the next thing we want to say is congratulations on reopening to the public, getting through the pandemic, and making customers and players feel safe and comfortable coming back in and playing in-person games. What are some of the things that you need to do to make that happen?
Needed to make it happen?
Well, I mean, there's a bunch of things that kind of went into it. The first thing, definitely announcing that we were private. Okay. And what we also saw was our group size fell. You know, our max capacity for the original Grannies was 6 people. And so for Bros, we did open up with a max of 8 because we wanted those larger family groups that most escape rooms do look for. However, what we saw is probably 60 to 70% of all of our groups fell down to a 3 to 4 max. So we kind of took that information and we're like, all right, so we are approaching a few months open. We should probably start building our next experience, which is kind of where Outage came to light. Which those who have played Outage do know it's definitely on the smaller size. With most of it being played in the pitch black darkness, we were like, okay, so we know what our max group size is. Let's build a game for that max of 4, that max of 3, and that's where kind of Outage was born. And Outage is actually probably what allowed us to continue pushing through the pandemic. It opened up another experience for us, and it made an intimate, fun experience for couples, for small family groups, and it was a blast, and probably one of the single most reasons why we were able to succeed.
Awesome, yeah. And then I'm gonna throw another question out there for you. Out of the 3 games that you have right now, which is your favorite?
That's hard.
I know, it's like, which child do you love the most?
I think we always have our go-to, which for me is Bros. I will say as our first of the 3 that we opened, it just holds that special place.
Yeah.
Just because I think the experience overall is something that I, as a player, it kind of hits the marks of what I'm looking for. Where Outage and Satirical have a completely different taste.
Yeah.
Play style, the actual design of the space. I think there's a lot of people that come in that say Satirical is their favorite. Outage has something that's completely refreshing, something different that they haven't seen before, and that makes them appreciate that one more. So it's always good for our players to have a different perspective, because we want experiences that kind of hit the mark for each kind of player, and that's what we go into in designing. But Bros, for me, I think, having not actually played it without having been a part of the production and design, I still think Bros would be my number 1.
Yeah, we definitely talk about all the time, if we could just go back in time and kind of erase that we built and we designed it just to see what we would do if we were to play it. I mean, it does make Bros my favorite as well, but it also kind of falls under is like, we don't really design games for ourselves because we are so different minded when it comes to experiences. We might play one game somewhere that I'm in love with that he thought was good, but it's not his favorite, but for me it's above the odds. So I'm just like, well, we obviously can't design games for ourselves here because it's impossible. So we then go back and look at all of our players and all the notes that we keep track of for everything and say, players want this. We got to give them this. So even if it may not be our favorite thing, we're going to do our twist to kind of make it enjoyable for us, but we always keep players as number 1.
Yeah. And it sounds like it's the brainchild from the both of you, because like you were saying, you envision what you would want to experience and enjoy. So I think having that mindset, you put together something where it's like, oh, I really like this, and you're saying, I really like this, and you kind of merged all of that together.
And it all starts from just taking something that we find to be a non-traditional space or story, and just researching. Because my background is scenic design, so lighting, scenery, sound even. That's kind of where I got my start, and kind of incorporating all that research and what I've learned throughout my Bachelor of Fine Arts, working towards that. It was really just kind of taking into account what we like, what we as our first maybe 100 games that we played, what we started to take notes on, what works, what doesn't work for our taste, and then also taking in mind what the players are looking for from their experience.
Okay.
Just molding it all into each new experience that we create here.
Yeah, and I think since you've been open, you've seen a lot of what players are doing in the rooms. So like on the camera, game mastering or what have you, what is something that stood out where you're in there, you're like, what are they doing? Like what is something that stood out that players did in a room? If you have different stories, I'd love to hear both.
Honestly, it's really not even stories. It's more, it's this weird phenomena where we don't see something ever happen and then one group does it and then every group after that does the exact same.
Almost like they told the next group.
Once you put it out in the universe, we find like the smallest of detail, like someone will notice one thing and try the puzzle that way.
Right.
The next group, literally the game that follows the exact same way, that same perspective. It's like that weird phenomenon of like once it's out, everyone wants to do
Honestly, all of our groups have been phenomenal. So that's like the one thing that always stands out to us. It's just like that.
And as such, like players that continually are out playing in addition to designing, we want to continue to travel and learn all kinds of kind of like the psychology of the mind and things like that. We are always on the side of the player. So like as we're game hosts, but also the owners of the company, all of our team is very much in that experience with them.
Right.
So it's like not only do we tell our stories a different way that we kind of integrate ourselves to the actual storytelling, the way that we kind of are just cheering you on. It's like we never are sitting back laughing at you, though everyone makes that joke.
Right.
We're always in the experience. We're cheering you on. We want to see the success. We want to see that our teams are enjoying their time. And afterwards, we want to sit there. We want to talk to them. We want to get their feedback.
Yeah.
So it's just a completely different perspective that I think we take on that experience.
I'm wondering if you ever, like you were saying, it's the first time you see a player think that way or try something that way. Do you ever take that into consideration and say, that's actually a pretty cool way of thinking about a puzzle?
Yes.
And then
Always.
Yes,
Yeah.
everything is inspiration from what we see to what we hear to the feedback that we get. But oftentimes players will like solve a puzzle one way and we'll be like, that's not a bad idea.
Right,
for a
that's
puzzle."
pretty creative.
It's like it's a good way to think, and like we're always encouraging different thought processes.
yeah. So you guys mentioned that you play escape rooms. So this is where we'd love for you to give a shout out to another company, preferably, it doesn't have to be a favorite, it could be something memorable, but company and the game. If you have more than one, love to hear it.
We definitely talked about one. We just played a trip for my birthday where we went over to Strange Bird in Texas, and we planned a trip around them. Awesome experience. On the way back, we got a lot of feedback from the enthusiast page on Facebook that kind of mentioned, hey, if you guys are driving past, add this location
Yeah.
to your list. And that was Escape Room Louisiana
Okay.
in Lake Charles. Definitely a hidden gem. He's like his
Grandma's house
Yes.
was phenomenal. It was like one of the most perfect uses of like a scary game, right?
Yeah.
Everyone has a scary game, but like theirs was
immersive.
so good. And
The
it was
scares
phenomenal.
and like the details alone that just were set up to be that kind of horror-esque game style.
Right.
They did it in a completely refreshing way. And the way that it was telling the story, it was kind of pushing your fear and also very location-based. Throughout the space, there were different sounds that were kind of hinting towards where you needed to go, but also progressing your story. And the way that those two pieces were kind of molded together in the design of that game, we were thoroughly impressed
for
with.
sure.
And,
And,
they have 3 experiences, but all 3 of their games super fun. The puzzles were super great, big spaces as well. But Grandma's House definitely is a
Grandma's house from Escape Room Louisiana.
Louisiana, yes,
Okay.
Lake Charles.
I mean, that's got to be up there. Then, of course, there's Exit Games in Florida, which everyone knows.
Yes.
Great friends with Tay and Josh. You guys are going to love it when you do go there. But another one that I think is still relatively new is Escape Warehouse in
Ponchatoula, Louisiana,
I think
for
it's
saying
like
that.
Okay, we're getting a lot of gems
Yes.
dropped here.
They have Hide and Seek, which they opened within like 6 months, a little bit around that time, 8 months or so.
Okay.
We just played them. Super
So
fun.
good. It was incredible.
So
The
basically what you're
space-
saying, we should plan our next road trip to Louisiana
Absolutely.
and stay there.
Absolutely. There's plenty of places to hit over there. but-
Traveling everywhere.
Yeah, and they just opened, or they just released tickets for the end of December for their newest game, Mystery Gates.
So we'll be taking a flight to Louisiana.
Yes,
Got to.
but Louisiana, a lot of great hidden gems, and then of course our friends at Escape Artists in Greenville.
Yup.
Definitely, we do have some Easter eggs to them throughout our experiences, but some of our best friends, as we started our journey a few years ago, we got to meet them, talk to them. We talk to them pretty much every day.
Yeah.
So
There's so many because we
There really
become so
is.
in tune with the industry that we really love everyone. It's just like, but there are some others that I'm just like, that was really cool.
Yeah.
And like it.
everyone has something that they bring, and that's what I think makes the escape room industry so interesting.
And you guys are so busy. I'm surprised you you try to find time to actually go
Yes.
out there, play, and support. That's great. I have one more question to ask you. Like I said in the beginning, we want to get to know you a little bit better. What is something that most people would not know about you outside of Escape Ventures, like a talent, a hobby, an interest, anything that you'd like to share?
Since we started this, I feel like this is my hobby, my interest, and my everything.
Yeah, that's
but
like 90% of who I am.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Am I
outside
identity?
of that,
that other 10%.
Yes.
What is
we
that?
have fallen in love with the haunted house industry. A lot of really
Halloween Horror
interesting
Nights,
things.
local Orlando.
Theme parks.
Theme
for
parks in
sure.
general. It's a lot of where the inspiration strikes. Everyone has something, but I think what haunts Spring and kind of something that can be introduced into that immersive environment of escape rooms, there's so much to take from that, so much from the experience, so much
Yeah.
from just like overall enjoyment that we take time to, especially during the season that just passed, unfortunately, as we move into Christmas. But it's our favorite time of the year.
But of course, traveling. I mean, just getting out and just seeing all the beautiful places that are
Getting to
around
play
here.
more escape rooms. So like on the side of playing escape rooms and being able to travel, it's molding that travel with business and mixing that pleasure. So getting to see a lot more of the US, and hopefully we'll make a trip across to the
So I wish we had
other
better
side.
hobbies, but that's kind of...
No, that's the dream. Escape rooms and traveling. Oh, and food. Food, travel,
yeah, gotta
escape
throw
rooms.
that in there.
Well, hey guys, thank you for having us. Thank you for
you.
hosting us. We played all 3 games here, and it's gonna be really challenging to figure out which ones we like the most because they were all so much fun. We played Bros Fraternity Heist, we played Outage, and we also played the Satirical Miracle. I told you I was gonna go with that one. Make sure you check out our website, escapetheroomers.com. You know what we thought in our reviews, and also do not forget to like and subscribe our YouTube channel because we're letting you know what to expect when you get to the locations, the parking lot, the waiting area, the lobby, the customer service, and also we're gonna give you a sneak peek of each room right now.